Hi, my name is Bryan Steele, and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. I will be your nerd today and every day that you watch one of these silly little shows. Don't ask me why I'm doing the strange intro. I'm just feeling kind of crazy today. It's been a weird week. I won't say bad. I won't say good. I will say weird. In different aspects of my life, uh, things have gone differently. Um, some positive, some not so positive, some just sort of raising questions. So before we get into the topic of the day, let's go ahead and do the Week in Bryan. Week in Bryan is actually pretty simple. Played some Magic the Gathering with my kid. Beat him once. He beat me once. We bought a bunch of cards. We bought a booster draft box, like a tournament box. I'm gonna see if he can't make his own deck out of the box and take me on. That'll be fun. Um, played a little board game, Here to Slay, by the Unstable Unicorn people. Um, very fun game. It's a very cute game. Played in the Curse of Strahd game last night. We got our butts kicked. We ran into we in the last session. We felt like we had a pretty good lead on something awesome that could hopefully help us out. And we chased after it. We found the guy, and without really having any way to sort of let him know that we come in peace, he immediately started flinging spells at us, and it did not go well for us. We were outclassed. So in our next session, we are going to try and contact this gentleman again, and hopefully um, start start the interaction with something along the lines of, "Please, we want to be allies. Quit Cone of Colding us into an early grave." We'll see how that goes. Um, what else? What else? Got some painting done on a commission. Talked to another client about a construction commission. Basically, I'm not going to be painting it, but he wants me to build a conversion kit for one of his Titans, um, which should be fun. That should be neat if I can find all the parts, and I'll have to really do some green stuff to make it happen. But it should be a lot of fun. Um, let's see what else did anything else happen game wise? I don't think so. My friend's Kickstarter with the card game that I designed is on the right on the edge of funding. Really close. Follow the link in the description if you are even on the fence at all about getting a cool game with very cool art. Get on board because they are really close to funding and starting unlocking some very cool special stretch goals. Um, I think that's about it when it comes to. I've been working steady on the Shadowrun novel. Got a little bit of a side thing that has to happen, but the Shadowrun novel is really taking precedence right now. Um, Found out that I'm going to be doing some panel work at the Renegade Con. That's a live action streamed con in July. Talking about my role playing game work there. Um, so that'll be cool. You know, if I think about it, uh, I'll put the ad up, um, either in the description or in the video itself. Either way, it's over the 16th, 17th, and 18th of July. It's all online, but we're gonna get to talk a whole bunch about the Power Rangers, GI Joe, and Transformers role playing game. Um, got to see the actual art and finalized stuff for some things that I did for Renegade for the free RPG day. That's fun. I always love seeing once the editors and the layout guys get a hold of stuff. It always makes me happy. Um, because it's one step closer to being out in people's hands. Got to see some of the layout files for the Power Rangers core rulebook. We're getting a lot of art. I assumed when we started this that there was going to be um, a lot more stuff that was going to be like taken from the comic books or stills from the show or graphic versions of stills from the show, that kind of thing. There's a lot of unique art in there, and I'm very happy. I think that super cool, super cool. Um, and I cannot wait for people to get to see the fruits of that labor as well. Super excited. Um, Found out that I'm going to be doing a little GI Joe work before I thought my next big thing that for Renegade is I'm doing a big Transformers book, but I found out that I'm doing a little speed bump GI Joe book first. So basically, they've got me all over the map when it comes to these Hasbro licenses, but it's all stuff that I love, and it's all stuff that I enjoy. And it's all stuff using the system that we created for these licenses. So it's a win all around. I'm super excited about it. We've been getting some good, a couple of little minor things, little feedback quibbles from the Warzone playtest stuff. And because that's slowing down, I'm trying to stay positive. The fact that the comments and the this is wrong with this and this is wrong with that is starting to slow down quite a bit from the playtesters. It means we're getting closer and closer to the rules being where we want them to be. Um, Alex and I are due to have a chit chat about the future of the immediate future of that kind of stuff. So I don't have a lot to say currently about Warzone, but I really do think we're starting to get closer and closer to that jumping off point. So yeah, again, it's right now. It's the summer. I'm excited about things. Um, Got to hang out with my friends in person the other day. We talked about gaming conventions and like what's the last time? Oh my gosh! I'm doing this Beyblade commission, and I needed some paint, and so over COVID, I have been doing mail order for most of my supplies, but occasionally, if I'm like, oh man, I need something right now, I was running into the local game store. I'd mask up, I'd run in, I'd grab my paint, and run back out. As little contact as possible. But this last weekend, I needed some paint, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pop out, and I'm gonna go see if they've got it. And I walked in, and right there in the game store's new layout is one of my very very close friends. He lived on my couch for several months, playing Infinity was hit with another friend that I hadn't seen in several years from Indianapolis. Just like they're at the store, they're having a good day. They came up to play, and so my 15-minute I need blue paint trip turned into an hour and a half of talking to my friends uh, there at the game store. But what it did is as I left, I got done talking to them, and I talked to the guy at the counter. He This is going to sound very egotistical. He didn't know who I was, so when we started talking about game design and things, um, one of the people who I was with basically was like, Brian, you sell Brian's games here. And the guy was like, "Oh my god, really?" And so we had this big long conversation. And long story short, I ended up being at the store for almost 2 hours talking to people. And when I left, when I got back in the car and I sat in, and I told my friend there that I was like, "Hey, we need to get together and have dinner sometime now that we can, um, get our kids together, that kind of thing." And when I got in the car, I sat there, turned the engine over, and I almost cried. Like, not like sad, but like I almost wept because it it hit me that because I had not, because of COVID, I had not been able to just go in to hang out at the game store, accidentally run into people, just go hang out and talk shop. Because of that stuff hadn't been happening. I had missed out on so many of my friends that this gentleman that I watch play Infinity, he's local to me. He lives in my town, and it's been probably 2 years since we've hung out. And it was one of those things where it's like I forgot the impact that the local game store has. It is a gathering point. It is a place for people to get together, and it's the Cheers Tavern of gaming. And that's a beautiful thing. And like I said, I got in my car and I almost wept because I was like, I haven't seen those people in so long. I hadn't thought about Will in forever, and because we all have been able now to go to this place to use the resources, to use the tables or whatever. I was able to not only contact them, but have a in-depth conversation with them, discuss things that we've both been doing, talk about projects, and before I left, put some pencil in some, hey, we need to get together and hang out sometime, scheduling issues, and that's it was just beautiful, and I want to impart upon you guys that don't let COVID and don't let the quarantine and yeah, we can all role play at our digital tables, and yeah, we can all sit at our computer all day long. Don't let the pandemic kill your love for the local game store. They really are still the foot soldiers in our industry. They are definitely the place where like-minded people congregate, and unlike online, which we're going to get into when we get into the topic today, unlike online, where it's very easy to say the wrong thing or type the wrong thing or type something and then be like, man, I wish I had body language to attach to that. All of that stuff aside, being at the game store, you can actually have a legitimate interaction, a legitimate conversation. You can read each other's body language. You can decide what's a joke, what's not. You can see the sarcasm. You can hear the cynicism. And you don't necessarily have to take everything at face value, unlike a lot of text or internet-based things. Not to mention, it is far more likely for someone to want to be cordial and more personable when you're looking at someone directly in the face than it is when you're hiding behind a screen. He says into YouTube. So yeah, that's I gotta say that's one of my big takeaways, is that I'm thankful for the game stores. I'm thankful for the ones that were able to stay open, and I hope you guys do an amazing job. And all of you gamers out there who have a game store that's local to you, if you can do business with them, do business with them. I'm not going to get on my big old high horse, anti-capitalism or anything weird like that, or don't mail order from people because, this, that, and the other thing. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you've got a local hub, if you've got a local place where gamers get together, where you can get together with your friends in a territory that is harboring for our hobby, that needs your help to stay afloat, help them stay afloat. Pay those extra couple of dollars. Pay and not to mention, sometimes you don't even realize it, but you might buy something online and go, oh man, that was $10 off, and then you look and go, oh, except for it was $9 in shipping, so it was only $1 cheaper, and now you got to wait for it, and you don't have someone there to talk to you about it. You don't have someone to show you to play, and you're expected to go into the game store at some point with this thing you bought someplace else. Come on, be good to your local game stores. They need to thrive. Now, I will not lie. If you have a local game store that is not treating you right, whether they are, their staff is rude, their they refuse to do special orders for you or whatever. If you've got a bad local game store, try to see if you can get them to change. They are a business. They're going to want your money. And if they don't, then that's a different story. You walk away and you find someplace else. But if there is a local game store to you that would want your money, that would want your patronage, give it to them. Help them out. Try and get them through this and make the community stronger. Okay, so I had mentioned that my week was good, bad, and when I did the week in Bryan, it was mostly good stuff. I am a TikToker. I've got roughly almost 6,000 followers. That's nothing, by the way, compared to some of the people on there. Even in the gaming TikTok community, there's people who have hundreds of thousands, if not millions. That's not me. I just have my little audience that occasionally wants to hear about Power Rangers or occasionally wants to hear about, miniatures games or Warzone or just hear me go on about my history or my past. Sorry, what the heck was that? You know what? It was my body saying, drink. You're thirsty. Basically, I've my audience. A lot of times, I talk about game. And most 99% of the time, I talk about game stuff. Every once in a while, they talk about something deep. I always have my Friday morning confessional, which is I say something from the heart. Sometimes they're funny. More often than not, it's something that I really do kind of want to get off my chest. And maybe if there's somebody out there who wants to, throw me a little pat on the back that says, "Hey, it's not so bad," you take the good where you can find it. Well, this week on TikTok, for the last 2 weeks on TikTok, 2 or 3 weeks, the role-playing game community on TikTok, collectively known as D&D TikTok, but it's mostly just all tabletop games, has really been fired up, and not in a good way. They've gone from one negative stance to another negative stance to another negative stance, and where it's a lot of people who normally when I see their face pop up when I'm scrolling through videos, when I see their face pop up, I go, "Oh, yay, cool! They've got something cool to say." A lot of people have just been very down, been very, I don't want to say negative, just not positive. They've been very, fighting the status quo. Several creators have been talking about how how certain aspects of the gaming community are wrong or bad, and I have noticed there is one thing that TikTok, as an internet platform where you get anywhere from 0 to 3 minutes to answer questions, give opinions. It's literally just like a soundbite making machine. And a lot of the people who I'm finding on there are using it as a way to deliver ultimatums. You'll note by the title of this video, when you clicked on the thumbnail, that this is what I consider to be a problem. Ultimatum advice is a term that I've come up with. It's not as or maybe it does exist. I use it in a way that it's where you are telling people the right way to do things by your opinion, but you are delivering it in the way that if you don't listen to what I'm saying and you don't do what I'm doing, you're an idiot, you're wrong, you've failed, you're doing the wrong thing because you don't agree with my opinion, and you don't not even just agree with my opinion, you don't follow through with how to do X the way I do X. And I have noticed, especially over the last couple weeks, that there's a lot of ultimatum advice in the tabletop gaming industry, particularly the role-playing game industry, where it is very much if you do not believe the way I believe, if you do not play the way I play, if you do not if you don't see the world through the same glasses that I do, you are inferior, you are wrong, and I'm going to find a way to vilify your position, even if it means stepping over that line, stepping over the line of decency, stepping over the line of rational thought, and that is exhausting. That is exhausting to try and combat. This last week marks the first two times that I had to block someone who I actually like on TikTok because they took a stance on a very charged topic, and no matter what anyone said to them, no matter what anyone explained to them, or not even no matter what someone shined on them to say, hey, maybe there is a gray area, their response was, absolutely not. If you do this, you're a bad dungeon master, you're a bad writer, you're a bad storyteller, you shouldn't be behind the screen. You very much one of those, there's no good way to do this, to do X, and if you try, you are going to fail. Or, and this has been a very recent tactic for a lot of the ultimatum advice givers, is they find a buzzword, they use whether or not you're racist, or you're a bigot, or you are close-minded. Like they throw these kind of powerful words into the mix in an effort to basically say, I need you to agree with what I said, because if you don't, then I might look like the bad guy, and I can't look like the bad guy. So I need you to agree with what we said and ignore all the facts, ignore all of this. Here's all of the reasons, all of the green $ reasons why this is not as big of an issue as that person is making it out to be. And it sucks. I firmly, it is, you can't argue with somebody who has decided that not only is their side right, but all other sides are wrong. And I know that sounds weird, but that's a proverb that I had heard months ago, I think. Whereas just because I'm not right doesn't mean you are. And that speaks volumes. It really, really does to these conversations. All right, I'm gonna let you in. I want to let you in on a secret, and some of you fans may get upset with me about this. It's a charged topic. It's a very big thing on TikTok, and it's the reason why I ended up blocking this guy. Is I, as a game designer, 43 years old, white guy, heterosexual, married twice, kids. I believe that removing the ability score modifiers, positive or negative, depending on how you want to lean your game. If you want to lean your game so everybody gets bonuses, that's fine. If you want to have your game where some species have some negatives, that's fine too. I don't care. But as long as there's something there that makes these different species, note I'm not saying races, that's a That's the thing that make these species different. As long as they're there, I think that it adds spice and it adds um, it adds a benefit to character creation. It changes different characters. It allows for a more diverse party, that's not to me. I'm not trying to be like, oh, let's throw a diverse bomb in there. No, I'm literally saying is that it allows for more. Okay, I would like my fighter to be one of these because they're a little stronger, faster. I would like my rogue to be these because they are more nimble and careful, or whatever. And the current the current climate amongst a lot of designers and definitely amongst a lot of current generation gamers, they believe that all attribute bonuses just need to go away because it's racist. I cannot disagree with that more. And the problem is that some of the individuals who have decided to take this stance that ability attribute modifiers based off of your species is a racist thing, because they've made that decision, it also makes it impossible to debate. It just basically leaves minefields and tripwires and a person ready to yell at you for why would you say that, race. And the problem that someone like myself, a card carrying bleeding heart liberal that's so far on the left that I can see my house from there, like I'm definitely not in that category of people that says because you've decided that half orcs are a stronger species than regular humans on average, that you're trying to say something racially charged or racially negative about the half orc. You're not. You're just basically saying that they're a bigger frame, or that you're trying to put down the human by saying that, well, they can have a strength of this, you're only allowed a strength of this. That also, if that would come up in game, I would probably have some people maybe make questions. Why? What is it? What is he using to calculate? Sorry about that. Computer got all weird and wacky on me for a second. I was discussing the fact that there are people who have decided that if you agree that different species in role-playing games should have different benefits, and that they are physically different, they believe that what you are doing is laying the groundwork to basically say that black people are different than white people, are different than the next culture, the next part of the human race. And that should you have a person of color at your table, they're going to, not could, but that they are going to take that as some kind of racial slap against them. And what I'm saying is that is not always the case. Obviously, I don't want to be that white guy who's like, racism doesn't exist at the tables, it doesn't exist in games. You're seeing racism where it's not. I'm not saying that either. That's the problem I have with this ultimatum advice. Looking at someone and saying, if you use these, you're a racist. Or if you use racism in your plot lines, there's no good way to do it. I disagree. They make great villains. Captain America punches Nazis awesomely for a reason. Red Skull was an amazing villain, based on the fact that he wasn't going to take over the world for his master race. There are countless examples of TV, literature, movies, comics, and yes, role playing games that use racism and hatred as plot devices. The issue you should have is if that media outlet, that game, that whatever, gives someone a reason to agree with it, or delivers it in a way that says, well, all orcs are big and stupid, so here's their strength, instead of saying that orcs are 7-foot tall walls of muscle, so therefore they have a greater chance of having a higher strength than the average human, instead of being like, these orcs are effectively just primitive savages, and they're all muscle, no brain. I firmly believe that it is just it's naive. It is naive to say that, to lay down that ultimatum that it's like, you can't use it. It's bad for you. It's bad for the games. It's bad for this. All it does is reinforce racist stereotypes. And to that, my answer is, what kind of racist stereotype are you worried about when it comes to a halfling? Are we worried that by saying halflings are more dexterous than others and far luckier than others, that we're gonna make some real world group angry with us? I have an issue with that. And again, sometimes some of these people that have argued that straight white guy, old guys like myself, have issue with it because it's change, and change is scary. I've worked for 24 different companies, worked through 14 or 15 different game systems. Change is not what I'm afraid of. What I'm afraid of is the next version of this game to be completely watered down and utterly flavorless, because there is a denomination of gamer out there who don't want to be caught with their hands in the cookie jar, so to speak, and be like, no, I don't want to have racial benefit, or I don't want racial benefits because that's racist. I want to wave my flag at the DM and say, don't do that plot line because it's lazy. It's a bad plot line to have a racist villain. No, it's a bad plot line to have a. No, I'm not gonna. I was gonna go off on a little tangent there and complain about a game that has not been out for a long time. I'm not going to complain about it. It is hard to have someone, if in your heart of hearts. See, I don't get mad when someone talks about racist white guys. I don't, because I know they exist. I know they're out there, and I know that a lot of times they are blind to their blatant racism. What I also witnessed firsthand is there are a lot of people out there that aren't racist, that are allies to people of color, that are allies to the LGB. I'm going to screw up the alphabet mafia. That are allies to the alphabet mafia, that are in turn almost ignored because they're not doing enough, or if they try to express their opinion on some things, it brings into question their allyship, and that's not okay. People should be trying to do the right thing as best as they can for the right reasons, and to hopefully get other people to see the benefits of being a good person, the benefits of allyship, the benefit, they should see the universal truths of, if you're a human, you're a human. And then I'm not talking about role playing. I mean, like in real life, treat people with respect, treat people as the human beings that they are, and that means conversationally as well. And it was very hard. Someone who I generally respected a lot of his opinions online was looking at me and basically saying openly to the world that because of my stance, that my writing was weak, that I'm a bad dungeon master, that I lacked imagination, and that I should go back to being a player for a little while, until I can figure out how to create world settings and how to create plot lines and how to do worlds that don't have to have racism in it. And my answer to that is, it's not a have to. It's not like when I put my checklist down of stuff when I'm building a game, that there's one of the lines says, racism and bigotry, check here. I'm not saying it has to be there. What I'm saying is that it's extremely naive to try and create a world that it doesn't exist, because it is a thing. But it should be a thing that is evil, and it should be a thing that you are trying to fight against as player characters, as and all of this aside, all advice aside, the number one rule should always be in play. If there's someone at your table who's not having a good time, find out why and fix it. Or, say goodbye to that player, because they're probably not going to stick around. And if that happens to be that particular player is like, you know what, your game has a little bit too much race bait in it, and there's just a few too many, cultures that hate one another, that are being enslaved and things like that, that it's just a little too real for me, I'm not happy with it, please change it. And if that were the case, if that was at my table, I would either change it on the fly, make so that stuff gets downplayed. Don't have any plots surround. Don't let the whoa earthquakey. Don't let your plots surround that aspect of the game. Change it if you can, or you you tell the player, well, this is a very big part of the plot. This is a very big part of my game world, is this battle against the racial tensions, and you're probably going to run into this more. Do you think that if it's going to be an extended problem, maybe we should play something else? Obviously, don't punish them. Don't be like, you shouldn't play because you don't like my world. That's silly. But give them an opportunity. If it's something you can fix it. If it's not, then maybe it's time to say, hey, I still want to play with my buddy here. Let's alter what we do. Let's do a different world. Let's play Power Rangers, for instance. What I'm getting at is, part two, there was another guy on TikTok who basically was telling people how to be a DM, and some of his advice was dead on. Some of his advice was fantastic, and I was like, oh, I might even take a couple notes for the next time that I have to run a game. But a lot of his stuff was caustic. It was, you're the master at your table. Don't take no guff from nobody. Don't let them talk back. Punish them by taking away levels if they're talking back at you. Just ugly stuff. And that falls in that same category. That's putting you as a DM that's saying, you players, I'll crack the whip on you if you don't play the way I want you to play. These games are about having fun. It's about being in a collaborative effort. So if you're not if you're being adversarial to your own players, if you're condescendingly talking down to them, well, since you don't know, like that's all just bad form. It's bad form in regular conversation. It's worse when you're supposed to be organizing and running and managing a game. And that was one of the things that set me off. Is this guy basically he was just openly telling uh, new players that had never played D&D before, that if they didn't run things the way he ran things, not only were they doing it wrong, but they're being homophobic about it, and they're gonna be uh, repercussions when they go to the game store and they try to run things like that. There's gonna be people who look at them and realize how racist they are, how bigoted they are. And I listened to these things and I was like, I can't handle it anymore. For the most part, when it comes to TikTok, if somebody's mouthing off, I just put a little note on there that says I don't want to hear from here on this topic again. But this week, I had got to the end of my rope on a couple of topics, and I had realized what caused me to lose my cool so fast. And what it is are these people basically saying there's never any gray area. There's no good way to do this, despite the fact that the world has shown us there is. And that should you do anything differently, you're a bad DM, you're a bad person. And in my case, it would mean I'm a bad professional in the industry, that I'm doing bad work. And that kind of pointed advice giving, whereas you're not offering a topic, you're not asking if they want to know, you're telling them this is the way it is. If you do anything else, you're wrong and probably a villain. And that's messed up. That's wrong. Because there's got to be wiggle room for everything. Now, that's not to say that they could not that there aren't instances where that is true. There are instances. I remember sitting down at a table at a convention years and years and years ago, and they handed out characters, and I got the character, and as like the character notes for it, I was playing some kind of like pig race or something. It was a homebrew thing, and it was like my role playing notes were act like an angry Jewish mother, hoard all of the gold. It was super anti-Semitic, and I told the guy, I was like, what's up with this? And he laughs, and he goes, oh, it's okay. I'm Jewish. I'm making fun of myself. And I'm like, back of my head, at the time, I just sort of went with it. And now that I go back and think about it, what if someone else at the table was Jewish? What if another one of the players? What if I was Jewish? And I got this, and I was expected to be this, antler-headed caricature of Jewish greed. And even by saying that, it puts a taste in my mouth, because that's not even a thing either. Everybody has greed. But in this instance, it's a caricature of what they are considering a stereotype of the Jewish people, and that's awful. And that is the only kind of ultimatum that I'm okay with, is as a player looking at the DM and saying, this isn't right. I need to change this. I'm not comfortable. I'm not going to have fun doing this. All right. And if all goes well and everybody does their part and everybody plays the role that they're supposed to play in this collective pushing forward of a social game and a social experiment, then everybody should be happy. No one should be upset that the bad Jewish joke didn't go off. Everyone should be like, all right, cool, let's move forward with the game. And that, it's that mentality, that sort of, I'm right and everybody else is wrong. Even the people who create the game, they're wrong. I think it's a dangerous position to play, and I think that it's the one thing that this whole homeschooling thing through quarantine has, homeschooling / home gaming / everything through a screen, I think it has dulled people's ability to understand and empathize face to face, because it is now is extremely easy to read someone's hot take on, oh, Dungeons and Dragons is racist because of X, and it's really easy to jump on that bandwagon, go onto your website, go onto TikTok, go onto YouTube, make a big video about how you agree with it. I want the clicks. I look at me, look at me. I'm this white guy that agrees with the fact that the racism should be changed. Good white guy, because that's what it sounds. That's what it looks like you guys are doing when you do this. How about instead, just run your game, have a good time, tell people about this awesome game that you're running, and in your game, if you've utterly eliminated racial modifiers and utterly eliminated racism and jingoism and all of these things, and you guys are having a great time and your story is tight, tell people about that. Show that off. Don't get on your soapbox and aim at other people and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're all wrong, you're all racists, look how cool I am. That's the problem. You're turning what should be a good thing, and a personal evolution, away from thinking that you need these things, away from using them if that's what you want, for your table to be happy and having a good time. That's the highlight that you should be making. Instead, you don't care if anybody knows about all that. All you want people to know is that you are putting your fists up and you are punching the lights out of anybody who's verbally, of course. You are verbally punching the lights out of anybody who disagrees with your stance on racial modifiers or the language barrier in games, or whatever. Pick a number of topics. Whatever topic is the one that's the buzz at the moment. You're championing that, which is fine. Champion away, but champion through actions and deeds, not through scolding and picking these giant verbal fights, because all that does is it makes you sound like a complainer looking to get it sounds like you're someone who's got up on a chair and you're looking to get a pat on the back, and that's not okay either. We have to find this, we got to find some kind of middle ground where you can look at another creator, you can look at a person, at another gamer, you can look at someone and say, hey, I don't really agree with this aspect, X aspect of the game, or X aspect of the adventure, or I didn't really, when we were making characters, I felt kind of weird that we were describing living creatures as their attribute bonuses. That made me kind of, I was squicked out by that. Thank you for, as a DM, thank you for telling me. We'll take a look at it in a different way, and please, if you're ever uncomfortable, you let me know, and we'll make amends. Instead of shouting at someone and saying, if you think that it's okay to have racial ability modifiers, you're probably part of the problem. You're probably unconsciously racist yourself. Because now you are making an enemy out of someone who very well might share part of your opinion, or at least is standing on your side of the fence and wants to do the right thing as best they can. But now that you've pointed the finger at them, you've vilified them for their thoughts, and you've shouted to anyone who would listen that that person is wrong, you've made an enemy out of them. You've turned them into the bad guy of your story. And that's not okay. All right. Enough of this. Enough of all that. Everybody's got some cool stuff they want to get to. I've run my mouth long enough. What I want you guys to go do, you know what? You got a mission today, this week. My phone is ringing. Sorry about that. You've got a mission this week. Before our next thing, I want you to, on one of your social media platforms, whatever social media platform it is, I want you to tell the masses to go out there and give someone an uncomfortable truth. I'm going to do mine right now. I believe that the gaming industry right now is suffering slightly, not dramatically by any stretch, from a case of too many people wanting to show off that they're the good guys. There are not enough people that just want to do the right thing. There's a lot of people who want to spotlight the fact that they're the good guys. Look at me being good. And there's not enough people just doing the right thing for the right reasons. That's my uncomfortable truth. And I think that everybody out there should go onto their Facebook, their Twitter, their TikTok. Hell, tag me in it. If you can, tag me in it. I want to see some of the things that you guys believe could be made better. Just with a little bit of understanding and a little bit of taking a second and thinking things through before acting on it and trying to get other people to agree with you. I don't know. Call it an exercise in an exercise in hopefully group understanding. But around all of this, in the shadows, in the nooks and crannies, what I want you to do is get vaccinated, wear your mask, be safe, but more than anything, go out there and have some fun and play some games. We'll see you next week. Hope this wasn't too much for you guys.